Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Soulvation. It's your girl Chanel, and today I'm joined by a really special guest. To be fair, I've been amping up this episode for quite some time now, and I kind of owe you guys a bit of an apology because we have been waiting for this episode for a while because my guest was sort of delaying. And yeah, so I'm sort of relinquishing all responsibility for this not coming up when it should be. And I'm side-eyeing my guest right now. But yeah, I apologize that you guys did not get this episode when you deserved it. But I am working on being more consistent and sticking to the plans that I lay out. So thank you so much for all of the support so far, watching the latest 2 episodes that have been out, and just giving me this continued support, really carrying on from the MILF tea and into this new journey that is Soulvation. So I'm going to give my guest like a couple seconds to sort of introduce themselves to you. So whenever you're ready, you can take the floor.
Okay, so my name is AJ Raw. I am a.
What do you mean your name's AJ Raw?
That's what it is. That's
His
my
name's
name.
AJ.
It's AJ Raw.
Oh God,
We putting the
annoying.
raw on the end of it.
Oh,
But yeah, you gotta say we are. You gotta say the full name or don't say it all. You know what I mean? But
Okay.
yeah, so I'm a poet. I am a writer, storyteller. There's other things that you may find out. Boyfriend. And just general overall creative. And I just have a whole bunch of things that I love to do, and I'm glad to be here.
Oh, well, I love it. We love it. So, to sort of get this episode kicking, because it's my first guest as well, I'm going to do some icebreakers. So, for those of you that do know AJ, you would know that he's got a podcast as well called the Bun Nap Podcast, and they talk about sort of like everyday issues from politics to economics to what's going on in the sort of industry and entertainment space, popular culture, stuff like that. So if you're into that, I would definitely suggest that you check out their podcast. All details to his podcast and his poetry and his battle raps and things like that I will be putting in the description box below for YouTube and in the captions on Instagram, and all the information will sort of be in the mini bio on my website. So I'm going to get kicking with the first question, Mr. AJ Raw.
Thank you.
From the mouth of Raw.
Yes. Y'all know about the poetry, man.
Okay. So here we go.
Okay.
So the first icebreaker question I'm going to ask you is, do you think you are a confident person? And if so, what has led you to that conclusion?
I believe that I gained confidence. Naturally, I wasn't a confident person, and that's something that grew over time. What led me to that is my love to perform.
Okay.
I kind of used my expression in things that I did to build my confidence and self-esteem, because in the beginning I had none.
Yeah.
I had like no confidence, no self-esteem.
We're all like that. Like we all start off that way. Yeah.
So I feel like I used my vices and different things that I kind of wanted to use for what we would call escapism to build.
Vices or passions?
I would say they're both.
Okay,
They're both.
so good things and bad
Yeah,
things. Okay.
yeah. To as a form to build that confidence, and I became a confident person. But I wasn't generally a confident person. No.
Okay. What led to the love of performance? Would you say that finding your confidence led to that, or would you say the performance happened and the confidence was found afterwards?
I think it led. The fact that I always felt like I could, because I was always performing, I was always around the arts. Before I did all of the linguistic stuff and the poetry and all of that, I was doing drama, I was doing school plays and things of that nature. I was just always around the stage. And you have to be confident on the stage if you know. And when you're performing in front of the school, that's the whole school. Everybody's going to see you. You mess up, everybody's going to see you. You get in trouble in primary school, they're going to tell you be a tree, and you're going to stand there in the back and be in the background. So things like that was just something that I would just always love to do. Okay. And then it grew into an individual thing. So from class, school plays to, things that I wanted to do individually, like poetry. Yeah. And obviously now you're going from having the support of like your class to having to stand there on your own. Yeah. And in that individual space, I had to just be confident because it's my expression, it's my art. If you're not confident in what you're saying, how are people going to believe what you say?
Very, very true.
So I had to find.
So could you repeat that again?
I said if you know,
I'm gonna do that a couple times in this episode because I love
it.
when people like drop really important nuggets that I think should stick with us. So.
If you're not confident in what you say, how are people gonna believe what you say? You have to believe what you say, and in order to believe, you gotta be confident in what you're saying. So
I hope you got that, guys. If you don't believe in what you're saying, then why would other people believe you? You have to be confident in, you know, what you're saying and in what you believe.
That's it.
For other people to sort of take it at that frequency, at that vibration too, right?
Yeah, I just believe that that's just what it is, you know, especially from a performance aspect and an expression aspect. I just had to find the confidence. Yeah. Especially when you mess up in front of a crowd and then they all gasp and now they're holding their breath. I hated that.
Oh God, so how did that feel? Like, do you remember the first time, well, not the first time, but one of the first instances where you performed and perhaps maybe you had someone make a face or like a sound that just fucking terrified you?
Actually, it was the Leke sound that I hated.
Oh my God.
It was the lack of sound. Like, everybody's waiting, like... Oh no, God. Like, wait, he could still get it, kind of like the whole room's quiet. So this was actually, because I started performing.
Like, is y'all quiet for a good reason?
I didn't even know, like, because when the room gets quiet like that, now you become super aware. Now you know everybody's looking.
You're
like,
on hyper alert.
So one of my first like mess ups was in front of the church at this event called Youth Ablaze, and it's just every year all of the different branches was gathered together at the church, at one church, and we would all perform drama, music, dance, poetry, all of that. And I liked poetry, but I didn't have an outlet, so I used that space to perform. And they were just like, okay, we need a poem on the theme, and you need to do it, and da-da-da. So before I had a group, I had to do it myself.
Yeah.
And I have to shout out Ajisha for this. I don't know if she's going to hear this or not, but she was the one that gave me the push to do poetry, because I did a rant on Facebook and it was a long ass rant. And back then, it will turn into a note. If you rant for too long, it will turn into a note.
Guys, AJ loves to rant. That is like the number one thing I can say about this man. He can go on a rant about something and it will last for like how long? Like,
I don't know. It depends on the topic. It depends on
a couple pages, or if we're watching a movie and we're having a conversation about something, it can go on for like 15 minutes and then AJ will be like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna press play now. Like that is his little thing.
Anyhow,
and I've literally been attacking him for it like every single time now that he's literally like, you're like dead silent, like when we're watching.
Oh yeah, no.
Like
now
today, what movie were we watching today? We were watching what was it?
We watched a few movies today, so it depends which one.
No, but we were watching Leke.
Yeah,
we were watching Leke
one
with Mally, and I noticed that AJ was like really quiet for like, I want to say the first 10 minutes of the movie, and I remember going like, babe, you all right? You sure you're not angry? Or something? What's going on?
I gotta learn, innit? Anyway, so I just say all of that to say, I got up there in front of my church, and I'm trying to remember my lines, and my mind just went blank.
Oh, God.
And I just could not remember. I've been practicing for like 4 months.
You must have felt like the ground swallowed you whole.
It was the room. It was like, now the room just seems a little bit bigger. Now you recognize everybody's face. Now the mic's there, and you getting the feedback. Like, so now it's just like, oh man, this is crazy. So that was one of my first mess ups, and I realized it was a really bad feeling because it goes from silent to little whispers. Oh my gosh, she's messing up. Oh my gosh.
And you're just on stage,
and I'm just like,
shit happen. Like, oh my God, is it me they're talking
I'm
about?
I'm like, oh, I don't even know how to tell them I'm messing up. Like, I'm just messing up. So
you know that Homer Simpson, the Homer Simpson meme where he literally like
he just backs off into the bush. I couldn't even do that. There was nowhere to back up to. The altar right behind me with the steps, and in front of me is everybody else. So it was just like, I kind of just had to just say what I could and get off the stage. And they would not stop talking about it for the whole next year. You better not mess up again. Guess what happened the next year? I messed up again. So now it's just like, this has happened twice in front of everybody twice. This is not happening the third time. This ain't happening the third time. I don't care. And at this point, somebody's come up to me and said they want to be a part of it too. And now we're both up there. So the third year comes, we both up there. And this time, he messes up, right? And I don't. Because I'm so, like, I've had 2 years of...
To practice and get this right. Like, the moment right.
I'm like, I don't care. Okay, cool. Shout out to Ife, because that's who it was. Shout out to him. If you hear this, my bro, I'm sorry, but we putting the business out there, so yeah. Anyway, he messed up the first time he performed in front of everybody, and I was so on go, so I just went right after him. And I'm looking in the camera. I'm tilting my head this time. My confidence is on 15. Like, I was so ready that time, and we nailed it. And then the next year we came back, and then we both nailed it. And now this time more people are coming, and it became a thing. So eventually, people start to see the confidence you exude, and now people are saying they're looking forward to the poetry in that event and stuff like that, because it wasn't just regular to be or not to be. It was hard hitting raw poetry, like it wasn't your typical thing, to the point where people would say, oh, that sounds like rap, that doesn't even sound like poetry to me. Like so that was where I grew my confidence. I grew the self-esteem and things of that nature to express even more, even though it was within the confines of church. And that's how I developed all of that. And as Shannon has just told you, I like to rant, so that's been my rant on expression. And that's
his little rant on expression and confidence, and why he feels he's confident.
Yeah. So that's just what it is.
So the next one is, what life experiences do you feel like you missed out on? And now that you're older, do you think those are experiences you could have gained something from? Does it feel like you are lacking something because you didn't have those experiences? And give us an example of one.
I actually don't feel like I've lacked in any life experience, because I feel like I experienced those different things at different points in time. So certain things that people may have gone through younger, I went through them later.
Okay.
So we'll just use the example of drinking.
Yeah.
Right? When people were coming and talking about, I've drank this, I've drank that, at that point, I'm completely silver tongue. I have not touched no drink. I don't touch no nothing.
Save life.
And, people knew me for that. So it was kind of just like, what do you mean you don't drink? Like, what are you talking about? It was alien. It was as if everybody spoke English and I spoke a completely different language.
Yeah.
And I experienced drinking later on as I got into uni and things of that nature. And I realized it hits me in a certain way that I don't like, if I'm not around people that I trust, to make sure that I don't do something silly, or I don't hurt myself, or I'm not, as vulnerable as I would be around strangers.
Okay.
So I realized there's so many other components to that, and that changes the experience. The people you're with change the experience, the environment you're in changes the experience, and where, and things of that nature. So I actually don't think I missed out on having a good drink and getting tipsy with your friends or whatnot, because I experienced that in different settings where I was comfortable, and I wouldn't change it. And that's just something that I just feel like now I pick and choose, and people are just like, I don't care. When you're coming to this, you're doing it, and that's just what it is.
Okay, I like that. Sounds good. Okay, so babe, my next icebreaker question is, what would be the best version of you? As in, what would that person be like? The best version of you, what would that be like?
I think this is a twofold question, because in the beginning I felt like the best version of me would be somebody that everyone accepted, and that everybody liked, and that couldn't do no wrong, and was completely perfect and never made a mistake, and always made everybody that he was around happy. As I grew up, I realized that that's basically impossible to do that. Like, everybody is gonna be mad at you at something, or there's not gonna be a person out there that doesn't have something negative to say about you.
True.
You know, it doesn't matter what you do. Some people will come up to you and say, I just don't like you. And they might not have a reason as to completely why. It might be your own success. It might be your own confidence. It could be your own whatever.
And sometimes it is just, I don't like you.
And it is just, I don't like you. And in
Yeah.
that sense, you can't be perfect in that sense, because especially if you have that idea of what perfection is as a human being, or what our best version of ourselves is, if you think in that line, you're not going to please everybody. So in the beginning, when I was growing up, I felt like the best version of myself is everybody's happy, everybody's affected in a positive way, everybody's happy around me and all of that, and I can provide for everybody all the time, and blah 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 blah. And that's how I'm going to live my life. As I've grown, I've realized the best version of myself is actually being happy with myself and my life, and actually wanting to live my life first before I put anybody else first. I have to be content with the person that I am.
Absolutely.
Because when you use the word best, you're saying that's something, that's the complete peak of what it is that you're calling best. So if you say best version of yourself, that means that you're at the peak of everything. Physical condition, financially, do you get what I'm saying?
It's almost like saying a person has reached their pinnacle.
Yeah, it's like asking someone to be Captain America. It's not possible. But I just say that to say, like, there's no way of reaching that level of perfection, really, in my brain.
What, Captain America perfection?
Just the idea of it, like,
Yeah.
you can't get things perfect. You can only do them as well as you possibly can. So when it comes to my being, I don't feel like there's a quote best version of myself. I feel like that's something that you continuously try and live your life doing. I don't feel like it's a destination. I feel like it's a journey of life.
I love that, because now that you mention that, it sort of put me on this pathway of thinking about the fact that we always, like you've just said, we look at perfection as a sort of destination. Things will be perfect when I this.
Yes.
Things will be perfect when this is that. And it's sort of like, it's not really a destination. Perfection is almost like, what's the word? It's a state of completion, is what I'm trying to say. And I feel like nothing is ever truly perfect until it's completely done. So it's not necessarily about something being, because we attach the quality of things being good or bad or good or happy or sad and all of these things to a thing being perfect. But what if perfection is just completion? It's just absolution. It's the complete, just makeup of something that makes it perfect because it's complete. So sort of like a life story, like a human being who's born today, perhaps they die 85 years from now, but that story isn't perfect until it's done.
But that was going to be my point.
Absolutely nothing else you can add to it. And I think that's what I take from what you're saying.
Yeah, like, you can't have a best version of yourself because you haven't finished living your life yet.
True.
Best means the absolute, complete, well-rounded, well-molded peak pinnacle of yourself.
Yeah.
So we talking about mentally, spiritually, physically, financially, emotionally.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? In all of those areas.
Even sexually too.
Yes, that's another part of it.
Yeah.
But but when we get into that, now you're talking about the dynamics of another person within that space.
True.
And what about them and their journey and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I genuinely believe it's a constant. Remember, you said it's a state of being. I believe it's a constant state of being. We're constantly trying to do things as well as possible. And I don't think there's one version of that. And let's say you reach that one version, then people may judge that version of you and say, but he's not going to be able to do those things that he did again.
True.
So I say that to say, like, let's use the game of basketball, for instance. You play a perfect game. You don't make no mistakes. You score a high amount of points and you help everyone out and get assists and all of that stuff. At the end of that game, reporters may praise that particular game, but then they'll go, but he can't do that again. That was a one-time thing. Then the next level of perfection would be, how many times can you perfect that one thing that you've done?
How many times can you do that?
How many times can you do that? So within life, it might be, you might have had the perfect day.
Yeah.
Nothing goes wrong. everything goes right. Everybody's happy that you speak to. Your money's up. You know, your bills is paid. So good. Your bills is paid. You know what I mean? The lights all good. Electricity is fine. Everything is all good for just that one day. And then we might spend the rest of our life chasing that one day. So I just think it's a constant state of being, and I don't think there's one version of that. I feel like there's versions. I think it's plural. I feel like it's a tug and pull thing.
Okay, so to summarize, I would say that you're saying that being the best version of yourself as a person is a continuous journey.
Yes.
It's like a pathway.
Yes.
And that pathway is really the duration of your life. You are constantly trying at every moment to be someone that you can be proud of.
100%.
Be someone that you can live with. Someone that you can depend on. Someone you can rely on, and all of those other things, all of those other aspects that fall into being the greatest versions of ourselves for ourselves.
Not only that, but you have to kind of stay alive to do that. Some people chase that level of perfection in their life,
and it kills them. Yeah.
And they can't live with themselves literally, and they end up taking their own life based on those things.
True. Which is
and
crazy,
you know, they end up isolating themselves because of, you know, all my days I made this mistake. All my days this is going wrong. Nobody understands me. I might as well not be here, and that's the end of them. So you know, it's a very delicate and a fine line to walk on. Okay. So that's why I believe.
I appreciate that. So, you know, speaking about how we can be better versions of ourselves and stuff, it leads me to think about, you know, sort of our relationship.
Yeah.
A lot of the relationships in the world as well. And, you know, sort of like the roles, the positions that we fall into of being, you know, masculine and feminine. You know, how do you feel, how do you think we do in that department? Do you feel like I allow you to sort of step into your masculine energy and that I stay in my feminine energy? Do you notice when I tend to cross over into my masculine energy? And how do you manage that? And, you know, how do I manage when you cross over into your feminine energy as well? And is there a resistance towards that? Because society has taught us you have to be this way and I have to be that way. So what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that is from the very beginning, we laid the foundation of truth. And I believe that's what drew us together, which was just being completely honest and open with each other off rip. So when it comes to feminine energy, I realized that you was constantly making an effort to express your femininity in my brain. That's how I seen it.
Okay, when you say constantly making an effort, how do you mean?
I mean, like
give me an example of how I made that effort to not communicate, but to show.
It was literally...
Is it to show my... Because I really feel like being masculine and feminine, sorry to cut you off, is a performance. It's performative, because if we pull these things away, all that we have left is just a being. You know, these are things that we've been told are feminine to do, things we've been told are masculine to do. So when you say I've been putting the effort, does that mean was I performing, or do you feel like I was in a natural state
I don't
of being?
I don't see it as performing, and that's what I was trying to say. From the very beginning, it felt completely natural.
Okay.
And that's what drew me to you, because you was easy to speak to. It wasn't difficult to speak to you at all. Yeah. I didn't sense that masculine energy from you like that.
Really? But you sense it now, don't lie.
No,
don't lie.
I believe.
Don't lie, nigga. You lying.
I believe what you. It comes in spurts. Let's put it that way. There may be certain times where you step into it.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? I don't think it's something that you constantly exude or exert.
And in all honesty,
yeah,
in all honesty, yeah, in all honesty, babe, how does that make you feel? Because I feel like we live in a world where it works both ways. Women have expectations of men,
yeah,
but men also have expectations of women, and sometimes these expectations can keep us very, very marginalized. Almost like this is the tiny box that you must be in, and you need to find a way to fit into this box, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Do you sense that sometimes?
It's different. It's different. It made me feel like I could actually trust the space that you were setting for for us.
Okay.
One of the last people I was with, literally tried to put their hands on me.
Yeah.
And felt like they could do that. Even though there's no point. Like,
you know, absolutely. I agree that putting your hands on anyone is wrong.
So in the situation, it was something that I was trying to explain, like, look, this is what the situation is, and this is what I did. Yeah. And in that situation, my words were completely disregarded, and they already had in their head what they felt, and they put their hands on me.
Oh gosh, that's so awful.
So I had to kind of, first of all, de-escalate the situation, and then I had to reinstate the energy that I had, and I had to tell them, look, don't you ever put your hands on me.
Yeah.
Don't. Like, it's just not, I don't know what you think this is, but don't ever put your hands on me. And then that's when she started apologizing and stuff like that. And, you know, she just wasn't really trying to be feminine in that situation, in my opinion.
Okay. So what would have been feminine to you? And do you necessarily feel like, because this is where I feel like it can get a little bit blurred sometimes. Like, I think about the fact that when you look at the world, we have a very binary view of things. Yeah. Good, bad, black, white, happy, sad, love, hate, envy, encouragement. You know, like, there is a real duality behind things. Everything in life is like a coin. Yeah. There are two sides to it. And I feel like you can sort of look at the, you know, scope of being masculine and feminine in that way. I think for every human being, it's like a coin. And I feel like we need to actually start looking at it as beyond being a coin, because obviously we have people who are queer, people who are part of the LGBTQ, and I know there are so many other letters, and please forgive me, I'm not disregarding you guys. I'm still educating myself, learning more about this stuff, and I feel like, you know, we need to actually understand that there are more sides to the coin than we ever thought before. Yeah. And that being said, I feel like, are we really right to restrict people to behaving in just these two modes of being, which is masculine or feminine? And if she's not in the state that I expect her to be in right now, then she's wrong. Do you get? Does
I get what you're saying.
Make sense?
It makes sense, but okay. I was only using that as an example to say, like, she didn't even really give me a chance to, like, let's say if I didn't have a lot of that masculine energy. She didn't really give me a chance to even step into that or to understand what that was for myself, or what she wanted from me when it came to things of that nature, like what she was expecting or how she was expecting me to be masculine, maybe in situations or circumstances or whatever it was. Okay. And the patience wasn't really there. So not to make the comparison, but with you, it just felt like a blank canvas. Like, okay. And there was no level of expectation at all. It felt like you was completely cool with just trying to get to know me and allowing me to be me, and allowing me to use my masculinity. Look at me, masculinity, or even figure out like what I like doing as a man, or what decisions I like making, or absolutely. You know, even asking me what I think on certain things, and you know, things of that nature, and allowing me to quote unquote lead. Do you get what I'm saying? And all these other qualities that they would dub or that they would attach to masculinity. Yeah. So in my brain, that's pretty feminine. Okay. Do you get it?
You know, I'd agree with you on that. I think one of the things I've really enjoyed about us sort of leaning more into, you know, I don't like to say our designated roles, because fuck society.
Let's just say our journey,
man. And, you know, fuck society and the ideas they have around, you know, being men and women and sort of what makes things work. I mean, not fuck society entirely, because the truth of the matter is I still use some of these principles and notions and ideas and theories to sort of in a way govern my life. And this is sort of what I mean by, you know, I'm I'm on that journey of awakening myself and sort of, trying to working hard to put in the effort in every day to elevate to a level of consciousness and awareness where I don't feel like I'm necessarily bound by these things. And so I feel like, that aside, one of the things that I have really enjoyed in our relationship and in terms of, the masculine, the feminine, and leaning into the role society says we should lean into, is I've actually enjoyed sort of showing you things about your own masculinity through sort of having to have done that myself. Like, I think about the fact that obviously before I met you, I was in a 4-year relationship with my son's dad. And it was a relationship where he was, now that I think about it, very leaned into his feminine energy in terms of like the way we would argue, the way things were done around the house. He depended on me. I was the breadwinner. I felt like I got out and I did things, and I got out and got shit done. And I think that's because that is something I've seen in a lot of the women's lives around me, from my mom to my aunts. They always got up and got shit done. And so I didn't know how to not do that. I was doing a lot of the masculine stuff in the relationship. And so I feel like now that I've met you, I feel like it's been a lot easier to sort of be like, okay, this is, and again, I hate to say it, but this is my idea of, or this is how I want my man to be. And I don't know why I should hate to say this, because the truth of the matter is I'm a human being and we all deserve good things, right? And I feel like we should all be able to set the standards and boundaries for ourselves. And I spoke about this in the last episode, setting boundaries. And I think one of the things that is really, really important and has been really helpful with our relationship is not just setting boundaries, but setting standards too. So I feel like, there have been certain things where I've let you know that this is what I would love for my man to do, not what I think a man should do, because you're not a man, you're my man. Do you know what I mean? Like,
claim me again. Let him know. Let him know. Say that again. Not like you might need to clip that and send that
it's like,
to
run
me.
it back.
Yeah.
Okay, so I said, you're not a man, you're my man. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like I don't want, I feel like the how you should be for me is a standard that I should set with so much intention and integrity too, because I feel like it's really important to be truthful so that going forward, the path that our relationship is walking on is steady and it's not rocky, and it doesn't, because there's going to be obstacles along the way anyway. 100%. So if the path is rocky and we've also got like obstacles to like get through, it's like, fucking hell, mate. Like, it's a bit of a shit storm, innit? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. I feel like that's one of the things I've really come to appreciate about our relationship, that I can tell you, okay, you know what, babe, I don't like this. Like, let me give you guys an example. Sure. So today I've been telling AJ for ages and ages and ages, like, babe, put the toilet seat down, put it down. I know it's the masculinity in you that's like, yeah, can't be bothered, don't care, done my little wee, I'm done and whatever. But like, literally, like, I even made up a mini song today. I made up a mini song twice. I was like, I can't even remember how the song goes, but I'm glad you can't
remember the song. I'm actually, y'all not hearing that song.
I know, but the whole point was like, babe, like, try and keep the toilet seat down. And it's stuff like that sort of make me feel seen and heard and noticed, when he doesn't make me feel silly for making those requirements of him. Instead, what he does is he goes, you know what, babe, I'm actually really sorry that I didn't consider doing that. And from now on, I'm going to make an active effort to ensure that the toilet seat is always down, because you're right. You're a lady. You're not going to pee on like the nasty part of the toilet seat. So, yeah. And I love that. I love that we have this level of communication that really does stop us from, it stops us from having these really intense arguments that can sort of like spark out of control. Yeah. Like, I feel like we have only ever had like one, and it wasn't even really an argument, funnily enough. And I think this has a lot more to do with my compassion. But look at me claiming that, my fucking ego. I can't deal.
Say it, babe.
But I'm talking about, the day when we went to London, I came back with the cupcakes and whatever. And this is how, communication is key. I had bought some cupcakes, right? And I know AJ really loves red velvet, so I bought 2 red velvet cupcakes, and I bought 2 vanillas for me. Put them in a nice little box. Shout out to Red Velvet. So I put them in a box. They put them in a box, gave them to us and whatever. And AJ got super excited and was picking the bag up and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have mine now. And all of a sudden, I'm just looking at this guy like, what? Like, no, like, I've saved them for later. But it's like, why am I being such a control freak about it? One, and in a way, I'm still trying to put my finger on what that was. I have some level of control in this situation already. I have bought the cupcakes. And I feel like that is control enough. If it's really about, you need to be in control of the situation. How much more in control of the situation can you be if you bought the cupcakes? Do you know what I mean?
Cupcakes. We ain't eating it now.
So do you know what I mean? Like literally, it was slightly the narcissist in me coming forth and being like, no, I bought these cupcakes, so like we're not having them till I say we're having them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And literally, like, I want to say, like, within 2 minutes of walking, I realized, like, bitch, what the fuck is you doing? Like, you know, when you have like the inner voice in my head was like, listen, what you're doing is not right. If he wants to eat the cupcakes now, let him eat them now. Obviously, like, he's just we have had like personal discussions around stuff that are really important to him, and I felt like in that moment him doing that would be him betraying himself. But then at the same time, it was really just me trying to control the situation. Like, I'm not having mine now. I'm practicing delayed gratification. So you practice it with me.
Right.
Don't leave me alone to practice delayed gratification. How fucking dare you?
Right.
Literally. Damn. That is what that was about.
I know, and she can't do no battle rap. You crazy. She will hurt someone in the battle rap.
God.
Boy.
And I realized that as soon as like we got down, and I was like, okay, no, baby, you want the cupcakes? And the next thing we're sort of like having not an argument, but more of like a mini back and forth. Like, no, eat the cupcakes. You know you want them. You know you want to have them. Like, eat the cupcake. And it's like, no, I don't want to have it. I'll have it later. I was like, babe, eat the cupcakes now.
Now she went from you can't have them to eat it and finish it. Literally. So says Megatron. Like, all right.
Oh, babe, you gotta stop with that shit. My audience don't understand these references. Oh God, it's the anime head in him, you guys. Is Megatron part of an anime?
Hey, you've never heard of Transformers?
Oh, sorry, I don't really give a fuck about Transformers. I've got to be honest.
Well, that's you then. I'm sure your audience is gonna know who Megatron from Transformers is.
Nigga, please, I'm too grown for that shit.
All right, sorry. It came out in 2007. What was you doing in 2007 since you so grown?
What was I doing in 2007? Actually, I was in Nigeria, like studying.
Babe,
and going
you
through
would have
hell
heard of
in some private school called Vivian Fowler. If you really want to know,
you would have heard of Transformers in 2007.
I did not. I did not hear about Transformers like literally till I want to say till I came back to this country, bro. Yeah, I did not know anything about Transformers. But
anyway, that was my little funny movie references that I may be doing.
So basically, I'm like, yeah, no, babe, I think you should eat the cupcakes because you've been wanting them, you've been wanting to eat them and stuff, and I don't want to feel like I'm now being a dickhead and being a control freak and telling you what you can and can't do and stuff simply because you've confided in me about certain targets that you have for yourself.
Yep.
And I feel like, obviously, like I said, it was really just me sort of practicing delayed gratification on my own and sort of being like, how dare you eat your cupcakes now? And to some degree, I'm starting to realize that is like a slight level of codependency. When you have to sort of go through a learning experience or a consequence on your own, but it's sort of like anyone learn this with me, feel this with me, don't leave me alone in this experience, please. That is literally what I was doing. Do you know what I mean? It was that sense of like, no, I'm trying to practice delayed gratification. We've got a lunch, and it's like, we human beings, we have been so this idea of society and togetherness has been sold to us so much that we do to some degree forget the individual. And I tend to forget the individual experience sometimes. Like, it's very easy for me to, in fact, this just goes on to something that Lydia was saying the other day when I was taking a walk with her in London Bridge area, and she was saying that, what you're looking at AJ as an extension of yourself. The moment you stop doing that, you no longer feel the need to control what he's doing, when he's doing, and why he's doing it. And vice versa. And I feel like, it made so much sense, because then that allowed me to sort of realize with the cupcake situation how I'm trying to practice something, or even with the healthy eating and the vegan stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, how I know you eat a certain way and I've been trying to eat clean, but obviously since I've met you, I've regressed on that. And instead of taking sort of like the accountability and the responsibility of knowing that, okay, if that's what a man likes, that's what he likes. And when he's around, I don't mind cooking that for him. I can also teach him to cook it for himself. Right. But I'm going to stay committed to this path that I'm on, this journey that I'm on. And I feel like sometimes I'm constantly walking this thin line of feeling like, oh, but you have to eat how I eat, and you have to, live how I live, because if you don't, then we're not on the same page. But then I think so much about how differences really do sort of cultivate a real sense of beauty in relationships.
100%.
I mean, don't get me wrong, having similarities is good.
Yeah.
And I think we have a lot of common ground with each other.
Having things in common.
Yeah, like having things in common is really, really good. But it's the things that make us different that really do sort of tend to pull us together. It's sort of like, it's like looking through a looking glass, you know. I sort of get a view into you in your world, all the things that bring you joy, that bring you pleasure, that you derive passion and purpose from, you know. And I feel like differences are a real way to sort of really connect. And that's the funny thing about differences. When I think about the word difference, I feel like there is a huge space between both points. And yet with that space between both points, we can actually connect across that space because we have things that are different and because I'm invested in getting to see and understand and know the things that are different about you and vice versa. So I really, really, really do love that.
It's nothing short of beautiful, to be honest. I would just like to add to that by saying you can teach each other things. Just because we don't completely like exactly the same thing doesn't mean we might not be on the same page.
Yeah.
Or boyfriend and girlfriend, not brother and sister.
True.
You know, so the difference is something that if you say you care about somebody, you tend to try and understand and learn from those differences and learn why that person likes that thing, or why did they do this thing different from you. What's their level of comfortability? What's the reason behind it? Is there a memory attached to it? Is there a story attached to it? Is it a family member? And once you start to ask those questions, then you start to know the person.
Yeah, you're delving in layers
You know?
deep. Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. Layers, differences, things of that nature. When you start to do that, now you're showing interest. Even though it's not your interest, you're showing interest in the other person's interest. Yeah. And that's a big thing. So I generally believe that the fact that we do have differences doesn't mean that we can't be together. That's actually a magical thing about our relationship, because now it's never dull. Now I might be watching something that you might go, oh, what is that?
Yeah, I'm constantly going like, what is that?
What is that? Like, why do you? Okay, cool. And we might watch a few minutes.
Whole little rant about it, and by the end of the rant,
I'm breaking down everything.
Yeah.
The book, the story behind it, the this, the that, the blah blah blah. And within that little world that I've introduced my woman to, she's then gone and she's gonna seek out her own things that she might like within that.
Yeah, like, do you know what? I'll give you an example. I feel like one of the days where I really felt like let into your world was your birthday weekend.
Yeah.
And I think it was the perfect mix up of me planning things for you that I know I would enjoy too, sort of like the hotel, and then us doing things that you really wanted to do, like the arcade and going to the diner, which I absolutely hated. But because I love this chap, I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to put aside my need for beautiful restaurants and aesthetics and, you know, waitresses who speak with accents that just aren't English, and, you know, like literally just the all of that, the glitz and glamours of London's best restaurants, and sort of get a little bit humble and sort of like, you know, what's the word? I'm trying to think of it. Sort of that comfort feeling you get when you go to your auntie's barbecue and you're surrounded by like family and friends. I get that vibe from a lot of the things that AJ loves to do. And his birthday weekend was a real sort of like window into like all of the ways that we were actually really different. I feel like I really got to see you. Because prior to that, obviously I'd seen you, but I'd only ever seen you with me. I hadn't seen you with your friends. I hadn't seen you with your mum. I hadn't seen you with your brother, all of these other things. And I think, you know, in hindsight now, it was actually a really beautiful experience because, you know, obviously I spoke to you about this. I told you, like, you know, I would, you know, confide in my friends, be like, oh my God, I hope he's not a loser. You know, I hope he's not like my ex-boyfriend where it's going to be like super difficult and I'm going to be segregated and on my own and I'm going to have to like, you know, do everything for the bulk of us and my wisdom, my passions, my knowledge, my joy, my laughter, my humor is what's going to have to rock the boat for us both, you know. And I feel like that weekend was a real sort of like eye-opener because we'd only ever done things on my turf, and you know, finally I was sort of on your turf, and it forced me to come out of my shell a little bit, dinner with all the lads, literally, having to speak with like an old flame of yours too. So there were a lot of tests, you know, and I think it was actually really nice to sort of see you come out of your shell a little bit more and really see you more in your element. Like I have this this vision of you in my mind, like the bit when we were playing the game and you got so excited, and I can't remember if it was Liam's shoulders or Adam's, but you literally grabbed him and was like, yes, let's do this, man. And I will never ever get that image of you out my mind. And it really made me happy, because it was that thing of like, wow, there he is.
Wow, man.
You know, like there he is. This person that I thought I wasn't going to get out of you, that I might not get to connect with.
Really?
It was really eye-opening to sort of see you being like, almost like the alpha male in front of all your friends. Because I feel like at home, I sometimes I wonder, like, maybe you let me do this, but I feel like sometimes I run the show. That's my safety net. It makes me feel safe, and it makes me feel like I know what's going to happen next. And I know that whatever happens next was my design, even if it's a bad one.
Well, one thing I will just say is a king knows when to lead and when to follow.
Wow, I love that.
Babe,
because most kings wouldn't even think to follow. They'd be like, I'm a born leader.
You can't be a leader without first knowing how to follow. First of all, it's okay. Yeah. First of all, this isn't our house. This is your house. This is your space. You let me into your space.
Yeah.
So no matter how many times you tell me, oh yeah, this is your space too, put your feet up, blah, 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 blah. Until it gets to a point where we either go and get our own space together, I feel like you gotta run the show. I gotta allow you to do that, because that's your comfort level.
Oh shit! How's that gonna change? Oh shit!
Not saying that I'm not gonna have input. Not saying that I'm not gonna make suggestions or any of those things.
Because you do.
Because I do.
Yeah.
But it's a thing where I've realized your comfort level is just knowing what's going on, just having your hands on top of things.
I hate feeling out of the loop.
You know?
And I hate feeling out of control.
So in that aspect, I gotta let you do that. If I start coming in, first of all, I'm coming into your space. What is it gonna look like if I burst through the door? Right. Today, what doing?
Do you know what,
like,
babe? Like,
go on.
It's so nuts, but you have just reminded me of an episode of Desperate Housewives where I think Tom, what's her name? The old annoying lady that is a what's the word? She's a neighbor to Lynette Scarvo. She starts dating this old guy called Roy, and for Mrs. McCluskey. Mrs. McCluskey starts dating Roy.
Are you sure his name is Mrs. McCluskey?
Yeah,
I had a teacher named Mr. McCluskey. That's funny.
But yeah, Mrs. McCluskey was her name. So Mrs. McCluskey starts dating this guy called Roy. And Roy is a real sort of like old school gentleman. He doesn't like the idea of like a woman running the show. He's like a super masculine, traditional man, right?
Okay.
And he sees Lynette's husband, Tom, and how he literally lets Lynette run the show. And I will never forget when, you know, Roy sort of sits and he's like, why do you let her do this shit? And he was like, his explanation of it was beautiful. And I wish I could pull it up right now. I don't think I'll find it, and I think it's a bit of a long one, but if I do find it, I'm going to post it as a quote on Instagram so that you guys sort of get the full scope of what I'm trying to share with you. But he was saying something along the lines of, it makes Lynette feel safe, and it's his job as a man to constantly ensure that the space his woman is in is one of like love and compassion and safety and security, and that will always be his job. And he knows that makes him the top man in her life always. You know, and to other people it might look like, yeah, she's stomping all over him and stuff, but he will do that for his woman every day, because he knows that that's what she needs, that she grew up in, you know, in circumstances that made her feel very out of control.
Yeah.
And so her need to be in control is really about safety and security. And I thought it was really beautiful that he could actually see through her so much in that moment. And not just in that moment, but through the the journey that their marriage had been through, he could really see Lynette until it was difficult to see Lynette because obviously Lynette kept pushing. But yeah, I feel like that is sort of the feeling you give me in a sense. You make me feel safe. You make me feel like a sense of security. And I know that no matter, and I know this sounds really, really bad, but no matter how much I sort of run the show or push like Lynette did, I feel like you are constantly there with like open arms. It's almost like, it's like that. Just imagine us like me pushing and pushing and pushing, because that's the level of control. We're on a bridge, and maybe to get to the other side, I feel like I need to push and push and push against you. And so we finally get to the end of this bridge, and instead of it being anger and confusion, it's just one big massive hug and, you know, acceptance. And I really do try to make sure that it doesn't get to a point where you build up resentment towards me for that, because I understand that it takes you have to hold a lot of space for a person to be able to do that. A lot of space, a lot of compassion, and a lot of grace for them, because you understand that they are not at a level to sort of receive you and to sort of operate with you in the way that you are operating with them, sort of thing. And, you know, yeah, that's one of the things that I feel. So I do feel like, you know, I'm trying my best to be cautious about, you know, these things and ensure that, yeah, I do right by you, because that really is important to me. It is. Absolutely it is.
Well, first of all, I appreciate that. But babe, what's more masculine than making a woman feel safe?
True. I don't know, really.
If as a man you can't make your woman feel safe, then what's the point?
Oh, but here we go again. I hate that shit.
I'm just saying.
Damsel in distress.
I'm just saying. It's not. But that's the thing.
And who said women can't save themselves?
I think we all know.
The feminist in me.
I think we all know that you ain't no damsel in distress. There's nobody listening to this that see you in any damsel in distress type format.
They've said damsel.
That's damsel, pretzel, whatever you want to call it. Look, man, I just know that it is my job. I don't care about society standards. This is just how I view it.
Yeah.
It is my job to make sure you, the baby, and everybody connected to us feels and is safe.
Well, I really do appreciate that.
And I have my own way of getting that message across. Babe, in life, some people are going to push back. Some people not going to take your mouth or take the attitude or even understand why you do what you do. Some people are going to question everything.
True.
Me, it is my job to understand you.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? And to understand the situations you've come from. The last thing you need is to be pushed over the edge.
True.
The last thing you need is all of the extra stuff and the toxicity and the drama and all of that.
Yeah.
I'm not here for that. I'm here to make you happy. I'm here to ease you.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? To comfort you, to show you what love is. That is my job as your man. All of this, I'm for real. All of the extra stuff is just not needed. What's it needed for?
That's my little like side of me embarrassed to be vulnerable. Like, show me what love is.
I'm just for real.
I want to be shown. Let me because I'm trying to be shown too.
All right. I'm just saying. That's me. Yeah. That's how I do it. I don't need to, babe. Like I said, like I'm the king in the house. I don't need to state that. That doesn't need to be stated. It is what it is. You allow me to be that, and it is what it is.
Okay, I love that, because at first I was like, nigga, what do you mean you're the king in my house? And then he goes, actually, you allow me to be that.
You allow me to be the king in the house.
That's my little king.
So I don't need to come in and be like, I'm the king. I am the king.
And I love that you don't do that, to be honest. I really do. And it's been really helpful for our relationship. So
do you understand what I'm saying?
In so many ways, yeah.
When the king walk in, you know he a king. That's just what it is. You see the crown, you see his aura, you see the statue, you know what it is. What do I need to open my mouth and say it for? I don't need to. I'm so comfortable in my position in your life that I don't even need to state it or reinstate it. It's just there are going to be times where I may say, okay, now you tripping.
Yeah.
Like can we talk about the Zara thing?
Go on.
Yeah? Like the Zara situation.
Oh, God. Do you know what? Okay, you give your account and then I'll give mine.
Well, I would just put it like this, because we've been going back and forth about like, you know, my fashion sense and my wardrobe and up and, you know, my style and what I'm comfortable in and etc. etc. And with my nonchalant ass, I'm not really thinking about, okay, you know, certain feng shui places and, you know, fancy restaurants, and that's where the difference is between us. Yeah. In my brain, we create the vibe. I don't feel like we need to go to a vibe. I believe we bring the vibe wherever because it's about us.
Well, you know what? I love that. I've never really sensed it in that way. For me, it's always been more of a thing of, I get that we have a vibe, but there are also vibes that we can tune into with our vibe in a place. So like, for instance, we have our vibe, but our vibe is going to be different in Five Guys and to be honest, I'd never even be in Five Guys because peanut oil. But but let's just give that as an example.
Shout out to Five Guys, yo.
I know you love that place. So like, let's just say we're in Five Guys.
Yeah.
The vibe in Five Guys is going to be very different to if we were at like Gaucho's or like.
See, I've never even heard what is Gaucho or something. Okay, Novikov I've heard of because somebody Miss Banks put it in the song. My man has never heard of Gaucho's. Look, man, this is the difference right here. I'm just saying,
his like, favorite restaurant's the diner.
Hey, man, look,
we are so different, but it's actually so beautiful.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That is the whole point.
So
like,
beautiful, yeah.
So that's my whole point. That's the differences. That's the whole point because now. And this is where Zara came in.
Yeah.
She's showing me, look, there is another level to what you're wearing. There is clothes that you are going to like, but they are designed a certain type of way. The material is going to be different. There are even some brands that you might be familiar with. Let's take the time to go to these places and see what we can find out of these things that will change your outlook on your wardrobe and your appearance.
But you know what? Before you carry on,
yeah,
I've realized in hindsight that was actually still to a certain degree quite controlling of me, because that was me looking at you as an extension of myself. Like, let me give you an example. That was me practically saying that if we were going to a restaurant and you wore a tracksuit, the tracksuit that you love, I would have felt some level of shame and embarrassment by that. And that doesn't make me feel very good, because I feel like as your partner, I should be able to accept all things about you, even if you're someone who's not bothered about, you know, the I don't know, if you're not bothered about the latest shoes designer or like, you know, planning your outfits ahead for things, or you just don't care and would wear a tracksuit anywhere, whatever it is. I feel like I should be able to accept that. And I'm not saying we can't influence people and make them better, but I do feel like that was a really controlling situation, because I felt like you felt really, thinking about it now, you know, you were telling me about how your mum got you this tracksuit. It feels comfortable, it feels good, and your brother got you the shoes. And I felt like there was a real wholesome reason behind you wanting to wear those. You know, it was the fact that your family got you those things, and I just sort of came along like, nigga, you can't wear a tracksuit to this shit, you know, and just completely made you go shopping and, you know, buy a bunch of stuff that, who knows, maybe you wouldn't have wanted to wear. Like, if you went shopping for yourself, would those have been the things you picked? Because in hindsight now, I kind of feel like, even though I was like, oh, do you like this, do you like that? I feel like probably with the way the whole day was going, you probably just felt tired and was like, let me just let her have this moment in a way, because she feels so strongly that I can't wear this tracksuit. And heck, if I can't wear this tracksuit, I don't know what the fuck else I'm gonna wear, because all I'm trying to wear is a tracksuit.
Well, again,
do you get what I'm saying?
This is where it comes to, you know, just the differentiating and all of these different things. Because, babe, I say this time and time again, anytime we was to go to like these places you're talking about, my dress sense would change. The only reason why you see me in a tracksuit is because there's a level of comfortability that I like to be in.
Yeah.
And some of these clothes is tight. Do you get what I'm saying? Some of these clothes are fit in a certain type of way. And if I was to go shopping, I would go and I would get certain different type of clothes. It wouldn't be tracksuits in the first place.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing that I was just trying to get you to understand. That there is a way that I will dress and what I would wear, how I would cut my hair, all of that stuff. It's just we ain't gone to those. We ain't done it yet. Absolutely. At that time.
And so, you know what? I'm so sorry to cut you off again, but another little off point is you sort of made me realize what is really important when we like a person. You know, every time I've sat down and thought about, oh my God, I hate the way he dresses. Or like, oh my God, like I hate the when he leaves his hair to grow out, or I fucking hate the do-rags. Hate the do-rags. Hate the do-rags. Hate the sulfurate. Hate it all. Hate it all.
Right.
But I think to myself, like, bruv, what do I love more? Like, you, or what's more important, loving you and, you know, the experience of love that you sort of pour back into me, or these things that I hate? Like, like, for instance, like the way you dress, if we're just going to keep it real and be honest, you know what I mean? Like, or like, and I keep thinking to myself, but it's like, why are these things even important? These are such a matrix subject matters.
Oh,
like,
we're gonna get into all of
fuck?
that. We're gonna get into all of that. But like I was just saying, that day, because I told her, you know what, you the fashion designer in the house, right? You the one that does the whole color coordinations and the fabrics and all of this stuff. Show me what you think works.
Yeah.
And that's what that day was about. So it wasn't even really, like I said, it wasn't even about me. I know when to step back.
I know, but this is my point. It was about you because it was your birthday.
No,
so
but
to
it
some
wasn't.
degree, I was being a control freak, and you
was
can be
being
honest
controlled.
about it.
But what I'm saying is that level of going out and actually planning outfits and showing me and all of that. That wasn't about me. This was, I need to see how she think. I need to see what she think look good on me. That's what that was about, because it was like, you know, we had little challenges for each other. Okay, what's, like you said, what do I think was my best dressed outfit or whatever? How would you up that? How would you one up that?
Yeah.
You know, what have I worn in my wardrobe that you like? What would be similar to that?
Absolutely.
Things of that nature. Learning is, I see it as I'm learning my partner.
Yeah.
My partner likes certain things. Okay, how can I fit? What can I do around that that's gonna fit that? Yeah. Babe, you're gonna cut this out, right? So I could just say, just let me go grab the chargers in your room and then we'll plug it.
And I was gonna say, let's round up actually, because this is coming up to an
Okay,
hour
cool.
anyway.
So.
But yeah, sorry, you have to leave space so I can edit.
So as I was saying, it was just like that day was more of, let me just see what you do.
Yeah.
So when I'm allowing these things and then we get to the counter and you still want some, what I tell you about that tracksuit, like you weren't about to wear it anyway.
Oh God.
And then on top of that, you then try and bring in another person's opinion that I don't know, that ain't important to me at all, who's like, why does your opinion matter? Who are you?
Let me even, I need to take this bit. So basically, right, Ada and I have been shopping and we get to the till at Zara, and literally he's paying for this stuff and he's got the tracksuit on that he was going to wear out for his birthday, right? And I'm literally just making small gist with the lady at the expense of my boyfriend, and to boost up my ego and make myself feel good about this little control freak experiment I've had. That oh God, the shame, but this is what being honest is about, and this is what elevating in soul is about. So let's do it. Let's talk about it. You know, and you know, sort of using you to catch cruise in Lydia's like vocabulary, using you to catch cruise, bruv. And literally saying to this lady that, like, can you imagine, like, he was gonna wear this tracksuit, like, tell him you can't wear this tracksuit, bruv, like. And next thing, like, babe just turned to me and what was it you said? Don't ever do that again. Was it don't ever do that again in your life, or what was it?
No, I said
it was something very definitive and very, like, so unlike you and so manly and so just that I was like.
First of all, I questioned the whole thing. So it was just, hold on.
Like, why?
Did I disagree with you though? We're buying her clothes, innit?
Yeah.
So why did you do that?
And I'm just there like,
So then you trying to talk, oh, but babe, I was like, no, why did you do that? Like, I didn't disagree with you. I'm buying the clothes, and then you're even adding someone else. So now you trying to babe me. I'm like, nah, that one cool. I don't like that. I don't care.
Don't ever try and dog
don't
me
do
out,
that
bro.
again.
Yeah. And I was just there like, oh, okay. Literally feeling so humiliated because the bitch that was literally earlier, she was like, yeah, like, you can't wear that tracksuit.
She didn't even get to finish saying you can't.
But no, yeah, I know, but this is the point. But obviously, I know that she was going to say, yeah, no, like, this is because she was insinuating that the outfit I'd chosen was much better, right? And next thing, like, you're ripping into me, and she is just looking down. Her head is down for the rest of the folding of the clothes. And I don't think folding clothes had ever taken so long in my goddamn life. But this bitch was folding the clothes for so goddamn long. I had never felt more embarrassed in my life. I'm more like, well, so much for being sisters, right? You're just going to stand here and watch him grill me?
Hey.
You're just gonna stand here? How could you? We were rooting for you. Hey. Literally, that is how I felt. So I felt so seen that day. But I'm really glad that you were able to set your boundaries with me because, like I said, in one of the previous episodes, boundaries are super, super important, and it's what allows our relationships to thrive. Yeah. If I have a boundary and you respect them and you uphold them and you uplift them, then there will never be a problem. And I think we need to be less afraid of boundaries. Boundaries don't mean, we need to stop looking at boundaries meaning you can't go here. You can't, right. And it being more of, this is my space for me. This is my reserved space for me. And I think if we all sort of took that approach, that level of perception to it, it would no longer be difficult to digest, you know?
I definitely believe that. But then it's the same with your toilet seat thing. It's the same with the Zara thing. I did the same thing with the cupcakes and all of that, because there's a whole nother extra stuff that happened with that. And let's just say I messed up. I pissed her off. And she's telling me exactly how she feel at that moment in time.
Yeah, I was like, don't ever gaslight me.
You know what I mean? And she's saying, you gaslighted me. You can't do this in my house. Now it's her house again. The minute, like, you see, the minute I mess up in my house, how dare. So this is what I'm saying. Like, you set the boundaries and you have to respect them. And as a man, that's where I felt seen. As a man, that's where I felt embarrassed. That's where I felt like, how could I have let it get to this point? I didn't even know how to respond. And now my wife up here is her heart pounding. She mad. Her whole body's hating this whole exchange we're having. I can hear her heartbeat from where I'm standing because she's so pissed. And I'm sitting here with the, oh my gosh, I did it face. Like,
yeah, I really get into like fight or flight with all of my emotions. I'm someone who feels all of her emotions in her nervous system. My nervous system is one of the greatest ways for me to decipher my own truth. Right. And I think in that moment, what came up for me was, wow, like we don't do this not communicating thing. We don't do that. That's not our energy. We sit down, we talk things out, we work through the discomfort, no matter how ugly it's going to get. Because the truth of the matter is, if anyone is going to see you this vulnerable, this ugly, this beaten down, it's me. Mm-hmm. And understand that there is, in that space that within which I'm seeing you, there is only compassion, there's only love, there's only grace, there's only forgiveness. There's warmth, and there's companionship there. 100%. And I feel like as long as we constantly create spaces for each other like that in our relationship, then we'll always be good.
I genuinely believe that. And I feel like that's the difference. That's why I can ask Shan about anything. Because she won't judge what come out of my mouth. She's trying to understand why I've asked the question and why I think that way, or she's trying to show me that there's a whole nother perspective that I probably haven't even touched on.
Honestly,
and that's the whole point. And from her perspective, it's just about loosening up and laughing and actually touching your inner child again and doing things that you probably had to put away.
Absolutely.
And that's how we balance each other. And that's why I said, I was the one that was like, I delayed the podcast. I'm just coming. I delayed it. Like I should have, stepped up and done more last week. I was drained, and that was that. And now we here, and we rectify that. We communicate, and that's it. And that's what being in a relationship is about, communicating.
Absolutely. But you know what, babe? I'm glad we finally did this. I think this has been beautiful. I don't think we got to discuss quite a wide range of things, and I think this has been a really long, beautiful conversation. I'm looking forward to sort of having more conversations with you on my podcast about, our relationship and the things that we are learning and how that can be. I don't ever claim to be this person who knows it all and who has the answers, the solutions, the cure, because I don't. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, one of the things that I've been gifted with is storytelling, the art of being able to tell and share stories, whether that's my story, whether it's someone else's story. And I think I'm really grateful for this experience of us being able to, share our experience of, sharing and building love together with other people and sort of helping them figure out the best way from looking at, sort of like the mistakes that we've made or like, the lack of alignment that we have had and all of these things. Yeah. So, babe, thank you so much for coming. This has been beautiful. I'm glad to have had you here. And I'm hoping we do this again soon. How do you feel?
I feel good about that. Maybe we could actually do it in front of a camera.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
All right, cool.
But yeah, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Baby, I love you. This has been beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing yourself with, you know, my audience and, you know, allowing us to have this discussion. I know you sometimes feel vulnerable about this kind of stuff, but I appreciate you.
Yeah, I've never done nothing like this before.
I appreciate you. And, you know, we kind of got a little bit nitty and gritty and, you know, we sort of bore our souls a little bit. So,
it's Soulvation, right?
Yeah, Soulvation. That's what it's about.
There you go.
Yeah, I love you, baby.
I love you too.
You're the best. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anytime.
So you guys, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and yeah, I will see you in the next one. All the details of how you can connect with my man, AJ Ra. And I will be censoring this stuff. I'm joking. I will be vetting who is following him.
Goodness,
I'm joking.
Yo.
I'm joking. I'm not that much of a control freak. But yeah, I will put down all of those details down below, you guys. Thank you so much. And this has been Soulvation. Bye, guys.